here at a rainy January day to do part 2 of the front garden update. If you'd like to get all the latest in information such as gardening updates and everything about horticulture and soil, subscribe to our channel. I'm John Valentino, president of John & Bob's Corporation. This is Chip Valentino. I'm a landscape architect and a landscape contractor. And we'd like to engage you in asking us questions or commenting on any part of this video and tell us how it pertains to what you have going on in your own garden. So this is an update to our video a couple of weeks ago where we allow you to follow us through an update on a garden where we kind of tear it completely apart and then rebuild it. The most important part of that we covered in part 1 is the design. The great challenge for the garden designer shouldn't be to make the garden natural, but to make the garden so the people in it will feel natural. I feel that directly pertains to the design process. What he's getting at is we need to talk extensively, as a designer, we need to talk extensively to the user and the owner. And we need to make sure that that design addresses directly their needs and the way they're going to live and their style, and doesn't necessarily reflect, a lot of times one of the flaws you can find in some designs, you talk extensively with the owner and then you do kind of what you think needs to be done rather than directly addressing the needs of the owner. So I love that quote because it speaks directly to the owner feeling natural rather than any other criteria. And so this design reflected quite a long process, 2 to 6 week process of getting to know the owner and getting to know how they felt about the garden, how they were going to use the garden, and how it needed to be changed in order to specifically address the needs of the owner and to upgrade the life of the owner, allow them to live a better life by improving their outdoor environment. On the last video, part 1, we showed you what this garden looked like right before we started. And really the thing we've done most so far is demolition, but we've done a couple other things. This represents 2 weeks after. And one of the key parts of updating is we want to respect existing trees. And that means maybe transplanting some and definitely improving some through pruning, so lightening them and thinning them. On this site they have some spectacular trees, so we have kind of classic examples of properly pruning trees where you would never cut them in half. On these big cork oaks, we have one that we've pruned, and we were stopped today by rain, so we weren't able to prune the other ones, which makes a nice contrast. You can see one before it was pruned and one right after it was pruned. And the pruning technique that was used is thinning cuts. I like to compare it to if you go to Disneyland or Disney World, you see first-rate pruning where they thin trees just as much as they can be thinned so you can see through them to see where to buy your everything they want to sell you, your cotton candy or whatever. And that is really good thinning, very extensive, but that's how you want to prune trees that you want to maintain their natural form. You don't want to cut them in half. That pretty much ruins them. They put all kinds of weird growth on underneath those cuts, and then those attachments are weak, prone to breaking. So this cork oak is a great example. So we pruned the cork oak on the left, and the one on the right is still unpruned. We'll prune that very similarly, and that's the way to further the health and also give the right look. And then we pruned a smaller cork oak more towards the front of the garden, and that also uses all the right techniques. In addition to pruning, we transplanted a pretty good sized Japanese maple that was right next to where I'm standing here. This is the time of the year to do it. Maples and all deciduous trees, you can dig them up this time of the year and then move them, and then we haven't pruned it yet, so this is where we moved it to. It's going to be a part of the entrance of this garden. It's going to have a very prominent spot spot of the garden. And then we will thin it using the techniques that we talked about when we thinned the oak tree. We'll thin it and raise it up a little so you can walk under it to the front door. So transplanting, thinning, those are the things we're going to be doing to preserve one of the most important and valuable assets of this garden, and that's the existing trees. For the most part, what we've done here since we last spoke about this garden is made a mess. We started tearing this place apart, and it's not pretty, and it's inconvenient for the owner, and probably the least pleasant part of the process. You can see we've got lots demolished here. What we try to do in this case is not demolish it all at once so that the owners still have a way to get in and out, and so we're taking out the paving a little at a time. But we just started on taking out all of the asphalt and the existing bricks and the existing concrete. Just to give you some sense, when you do that kind of demolition in our area, you'll pay about $3 a square foot to dig that all up and haul it off. So that gives you an idea, if you have a big concrete pad or a bunch of brick or asphalt, how much it'll cost to get rid of. So this is what demolition looks like. We've taken a lot of things out, and we haven't built that many things yet, but we'll talk about that next. In terms of new improvements, there's only two things we've done so far. One is we put in the posts for the new gate that's going to be the new entrance into the existing carport. So those have to be very beefy. You'll see they're big and they're steel, and they've got a big footing, all kinds of concrete around them, because we want those to be strong and to hold up over time. So we put those posts in, so that'll be the location of the new gate. In addition to those two posts, we put in the entry walk. It's really the only concrete paving on this revised plan. The new plan, all of the paving and area that you drive on is mostly base rock with a little bit of decomposed granite and pea gravel impregnated into the decomposed granite. So that's a permeable surface. But the main entry we want to be very durable, very clean, and so we did that out of new concrete. And that one we managed to sneak in pouring the concrete. We put 2% calcium in it so that it'll set up faster, so that we could finish it before it started raining again. And we used just plain gray concrete with scored joints and a broom finish. The broom finish is good for non-slip on a main entrance. So it's a simple, plain concrete. As we get further along, you'll see that decomposed granite and the pea gravel comes right up and butts up against that at the same grade. Other than that, just a lot of mess, a lot of demolition, and we're ready to, in a couple weeks, to show you as we get past this stage into something where we have a little more to show you in terms of positive improvements, and you start to see the shape of the garden. All the products that we'll be using at this site are available on our website at johnandbobs.com. Make sure and watch our prior video, which was part 1 to this, where we talk about the very beginning of thinking about these improvements, and we talk about the overall site and what we're going to do on it.